What's up, guys? How's everyone doing today? Friday, August 7th, 10:15 a.m. Wherever you are in the world, I say welcome. Hopefully you're doing great as you're checking in. We're going to just like this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, do that for me. Also, comment below in the chat if you're catching this live, which fight you guys are torn on, because although there aren't many sort of big name marquee fights, there's a lot of money to be made this week. There's a lot of action, as we say. Starting tomorrow in New Zealand, we have the Boxer card in the UK. We have the Zuffa card in the UK. We have the MVP card in Orlando. And we have the UFC. And the boys in the MMA chat, PFL, my boy Dalton Rosta is fighting the Butcher in the PFL. So there's a lot of action. So if you guys are JSB insiders, check the tickets. We have, including our quarterly parlay, there's 6 tickets. So check if you signed up on YouTube or Patreon. YouTube members only posts, Patreon, the Patreon VIP section. We might do a live stream parlay together. So that'll be fun, because there's a lot more fights being offered on my book now than there was last night when I went to bed. So maybe I could be talked into something. Right? If you haven't joined our VIP community, the link is pinned on the screen. I'm going to remove it now, but I'll keep it pinned in the chat. It's a couple bucks a month. We stream all the fights there in the Discord. It's not just boxing or MMA. It's all pro sports. College football is starting soon. That's another one of my bread and butters to bet on. I'm generally a boxing guy, UFC guy in terms of betting. That's about it, really. But during college football, I do make a lot of money betting college football. So we're excited. There's a lot coming up as well. This is a busy part of the year. If you are in our Patreon VIP section and you're a JSB insider on YouTube and you're not in the Discord, either send me an email or on Patreon, DM me, and I'll send you the link now. If you're new, let's do this. We're a growing community. We're approaching 600 VIPs in the Discord. We started it last year from scratch. It's truly an organic community. We have pro fighters in there, pro coaches in there. We have writers, authors, really intelligent boxing minds. So I want to thank our community real quick, and we're going to get started. One of our boys, one of our JSB insiders, is fighting this weekend. On your betting apps, he goes by Tyler Christopher, but his name's Mike Tyler. He's fighting. He's a big underdog in the UK. So shout out to Mike. Mike was one of our first guys to join our Discord, one of the first VIPs last year when I started this. And I've kind of been on the last 12-month journey with him, watched him, asking for fights, couldn't get fights, betting to pay his utility bills. He wins a couple fights over the last 12 months. And he's in the biggest spot of his career as a big underdog in a fight in which a lot of people don't give him any chances. I already think he's won in terms of, how far he's come in 12 months. So shout out to Mike Tyler, man. Win or lose, I already think he's won. And more importantly, if you're watching this, bro, have fun in there, dude. Life goes by like that. You've already put yourself in the arena. No matter if people are saying you're going to lose or not, it doesn't matter. The man in the arena. So shout out to Mike Tyler, man. Freaking awesome. I'm going to get up with the chat now before we look at the book. Mike, what's up, Johnny? Is Luke Siaki on the New Zealand card live? He's in 4-rounders. Ooh, I don't know yet. I'll look at it. I'm not really a 4-rounder sort of guy. But if you're feeling froggy, and once we get to the books here shortly, we'll have a look, big dog. His debut fight is on YouTube. Very messy, unimpressive. You know what you should do is go to the Discord and message Boxin Booth. So you can add him in our Discord, BOX, the letter N, Booth. Former fighter down in New Zealand. He's a coach now. And he's kind of the guy I lean on regarding New Zealand domestic fights, all things New Zealand boxing. He's kind of the guy I go to. He's in our community. Big Shadow. What's crack-a-lacking? Is Crystal Rosado going to be in a parlay? I just got Crystal. Crystal's fun to watch, man. Crystal is Amanda Serrano's protege. She's a good, the value's pretty good as we speak. The reason why she's not in a parlay for me, because by the time I gave you guys my parlay, I wasn't getting her fight. So I'll have a look at it once I catch up to the chat. If I could get Crystal on points, I'll probably play her on points. She's tidy. She has a good motor. You can see why Amanda has put a lot of energy behind her. She can't, I mean, I don't want to say she can't punch, because punching really isn't a thing the ladies are known for. But dude, she's fun to watch. She's in entertaining fights. So I like her to win. I think Crystal Rosado's in a great spot to get another W. She's always going to come in shape. So yeah, not on the parlay the only reason you don't see her on my parlay is because I wasn't getting the opportunity to bet on her when I put together that parlay. Steven Asplin, most significant strikes. If you got it, smash it. Listen to Big Shadow. This is a UFC reference. Steven Asplin, he's a UFC heavyweight. What's up, Johnny? Troy Williamson, moneyline, Callum Walsh points. Get after it. The only action I'm taking on Troy versus Callum is I played that prop at plus 110. Shout out to Julius Knows Boxing. He put me onto it last night. He twisted my arm. I said I wasn't going to bet on the rematch. I talked all my shit. And then I went back and I'm playing a prop. So I took Troy Williamson, Callum Simpson to fight not to go the distance at plus 110. I will be watching that fight still with bitterness, still with resentment from the first one, and with aspirations of bloodshed. Small World, Shanika's coach was my corner for one of my amateur fights back in the day when he lived in Canada. Shout out to Danny. A lot of people don't know, Shanika Johnson started boxing, I think, when she was 12, had almost 100 amateur fights, born in New Zealand. She started boxing in Queensland. She's one of these, like, the next wave of female boxers, because female boxing is, over the grand scheme of things, new. You know what I'm saying? In terms of age. It's why we see a lot of the ladies getting a late start in it. Think about on this card alone. Auntie Des is in her late 30s. Auntie Chicken is in her 40s. This sort of thing. And you see this a lot. But, and they picked up the sport late. It's not like Auntie Des and Auntie Chicken were fighting when they were 10. But Shanika is that next wave of, she did have an amateur career, a youth amateur career. I think she started when she was 12 and, has built a good amateur profile for herself. People knew about her. We knew about her. I knew about her when I moved here in 2013. Maybe I first heard of her. I think she turned over in 2017. I think that's when I first saw her fight, if my memory serves me correctly. But she's undisputed. She has her own style. She's always going to come in shape. Her best attribute, I think she is tailor-made for two-rounders. It's one of my favorite things about ladies boxing. We have some really, really intelligent boxing sharps in our Discord who make their money and allow us to learn too on women's boxing over the last 6 months. We've won a lot of money on women's boxing based off of the effort we put into the film study, and some of these guys who are part of our community who do just an excellent job at breaking stuff down and making us aware of what to pay attention to. Now, we know in the past we've seen the ladies do 3-minute rounders. I just don't. I think you would be ill-advised to compare women's boxing to men's boxing, right? I don't even, and this is no shade, it's a totally different product. So once we could get past, if you're one of these bettors, I'm telling you right now, boys, if you're one of these bettors and you have an ego and you say that I don't bet on female boxing, that's your ego, mate. You're leaving money on the table. It's a female boxing is a gold mine, bro. That's all I'm gonna say, especially with odds. So that being said, I don't like to see the ladies fight 3 rounds. And my point was, Shernika is tailor made for these 2 rounders, based off of her gas tank, her physicality for the division, her style, what she's never gonna win like a technical at range. If there was like a who has the best at range style, that's the most technical boxer, she would never win that award. But what she does really well is she puts a pace. She has a good engine. She's strong as hell. She likes to fight, fight off the jab, and she's kind of a bully in there. And I like the price. So as you know, I'm taking her over Dina. Dina also has a good amateur career, not as extensive, but she did pick up the gloves when she was younger, right? I think why I'm edging, and I think this is a 50-50 fight. I think what I really like about Shernika is that size, the physicality. Also, Dina she does good things really well. I think Dina's best chance to win this fight is if she were to stay in range. When you watch Dina's tape, she doesn't like to stay in range. She likes to fight in the pocket. I feel when she's in the pocket, her defense kind of crumbles a bit. And then Shernika, when she's in the pocket, I like Shernika. She stays more here, 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 here. And I think Dina she's a little bit loose with her guard. So whichever way you have it, whichever one you have your money on, the odds are great. Dina's the dog, slightly plus money. Shanika's the favorite, not quite plus money. So whichever way you like, I understand. I'm going with the champ. I think we're going to hear, and still, I think it's going to be a points decision. And there's something about a fighter who weaponizes their strength and conditioning, and that's kind of Shernika in a nutshell. So that's where I'm at with that. You guys are going to ask me about that. What's up, Johnny? I need that Discord. I signed up through Mayo. Email me. My email is in my YouTube bio. JohnnyStofko@iCloud.com. I'll send you the Discord. Tyler Dog of the Week. You know I put money on Tyler. You know how to bet on my boy. Psych, nah, I ain't even look into it. Morning. What's up, Yogi? Moonshot back in the house. Moonshot, the value you add, brother. I know this young fella puts together like there should be something should be said about putting together a parlay with like crazy odds, like a 10-legger, but the odds are like 8,000 to 1. And most people would say, conservative better. Oh, that's stupid. That'll never hit. Well, I've hit one in the last 2 months, and I've seen Moonshot hit them pretty periodically. That's not what I'm talking about. The energy that you bring to the group, though, when you post the Moonshot parlay, that's why you should keep doing them. The boys aren't betting their wallet expecting them to win, but it's like, hey, we got our heavy bets. We got, we've gone heavy on this dog. We've gone heavy on this 2-leg. We've gone heavy on this method of victory, and we're going to sprinkle something on the Moonshot. And you see one of those legs hit, and then 4 out of 10 hit, and then the energy comes up. That's why you do them, bro. Keep doing them. You bring it adds value, bro. Anyone familiar with Diego Krasimirov? I know he's fighting this weekend. He's fighting a guy. I'm kind of embarrassed that I know this. He's fighting a Brit. I think the Brit's what is it, Glees? The New Zealand card is on tonight for us. Why did I think it was Saturday? No, it's on tomorrow. Yeah, the sports bet, the book says the New Zealand card starts tomorrow. Aaron McKenna points, Simpson fight not to go the distance, Aspen fight not to go the distance, DR fight KO. Mayo, what are those odds, brother? Paul Jordan, what makes you think Aaron McKenna gets the win? What's up, Paulie boy? I don't really, our group is growing. Lately we've had over 100 people on all of our live streams. We'll max out at 100. I remember when these live streams had 4 people, right? I've only been doing this for a year, the lives. I only reference that as I know you're a JSB insider and we're growing, so I just don't recognize you. But I've been breaking down the McKenna matchup all week on the live streams, and all I'm going to say is, you know, unless I have my read totally wrong in terms of who I think Aaron McKenna is as a fighter, especially at 160 pounds, you could go watch, if you guys are unfamiliar with my prediction video playlist, that's under the playlist fight predictions. So all the thumbnails that you see, stats don't lie, those are my edited breakdown analysis of fights dating back over a year. That's how I grew the YouTube channel. From nothing, we're approaching 30K, which to me is unbelievable. It's very insane. I have a few McKenna breakdowns from a couple fights ago. I've been saying Aaron McKenna will be a world champion at 160 for a few years. I've said it all week. I just don't think most people are aware of how good he is. And the guy who sold me on Aaron McKenna, and the boys in our live stream all week have heard me tell this story, so I'm going to be short with it, was actually Terrence Crawford's coach, Bomac. I knew who McKenna was. I was aware of him, but it was Bomac, who I have a digital friendship with from a Facebook group that I run called Boxing News Today. A few years back, he was telling me this is a kid from the UK. He's been coming to my gym for sparring and training camps for years. We've been using him for Bud for years. And I'm like, a 22-year-old fucking Irish kid, a 20-year-old dude. Aaron McKenna was going to the States when he was. Aaron McKenna fought in a under 12s amateur championship tournament between America and Europe against Devin Haney when he was 12. So those in the know have known about him. He's a very nice, his style, his feet, how he slides in and out, his angles. He could fight at range. Sometimes when you watch McKenna, he almost forgets that he has certain skill sets because he was fighting in that tournament, the tournament in Japan, and he was fighting the kid. He was an underdog, and I think he ended up stopping the kid late. Italian last name. And I think the kid was American. What's it? Was it the Estella fight? Was that the fight that was in Japan? Yeah, the Estella fight. Isn't Gio Estella from America? Yeah, Gio's from Florida. So when you watch the Gio Estella fight, McKenna was the dog on the odds makers. He fights a certain style midway through the fight against Estella, playing the game. And then somewhere around the 6th round, it's almost like a light went on. And he was like, oh shit, I have feet. I can turn. I can fight in range. And you're like, oh shit. And then you saw more of it against Liam. He ended up stopping Estella in the 10th. He's nice, man. He just turned 27, 160 pounds, growing into his matured man sort of state. He has a good jab. He's a good body puncher. He does a lot of things really well. I think the knock on McKenna is people just don't know about him. And the lack of activity over the last year and a half wasn't due only for not getting fights. And so with the shuffled 160-pound division, with Alam Hunalay testing positive and then moving up to 68, with Shiraz moving up to 68, I think Adames, I heard rumors Adames might stay at 60. Who knows? We know he's a beast at 60, and we know Lara is there at 60. So this is for a vacant belt. I think McKenna, we're going to see levels, and I think those who haven't seen him fight a lot are going to be like, wow, I didn't know he was that good. And I asked the chat yesterday, I've been asking you guys all week, if I'm wrong on this, I want you guys, maybe I'm seeing something that I'm not right on every read. You can't expect me to be, but I think I do have a good eye on talent, at least, and seeing guys on the come up and knowing how to see if a guy is fading. And I think this is why we win a lot on our channel, predicting sort of, whether close fights or finding underdogs when the odds makers have it wrong, is that it's kind of like all related, I feel. When I watch Aaron McKenna's tape, I'm like, dude, this kid is freaking good. And he hasn't really even been matched that easily. When I watch Aliha's tape, Etnosa, he's good, I just don't put him in the same category as Aaron McKenna. Somebody on the chat was like, who do you think would win, Callum Walsh or Aaron McKenna? I was like, you can't even ask that question. That would be like, if you ask that question, I think in the same room as those guys, I think McKenna would probably chuckle. Callum Walsh is still figuring out who he is as a fighter. I'm not trying to negate what his ceiling could be, but McKenna is in terms of career progression, McKenna is way more polished with way more skills, with a way deeper identity of who he is in the ring. When you watch him fight, just, certain guys have a posture to them. Certain guys have a psychological optic of their style, of how they operate. You don't see a lot of negatives in terms of, you wow, that he fought negative that fight, or when he's exiting right, he's kind of susceptible to the hook, or I wish he wouldn't stay on the ropes that long. He's when you're trying to see a fighter who's either a world champion and you're just being a little bit critiquing them, like, all right, where could he get better? McKenna's not a perfect fighter, but like at this stage of the game, when you're talking about a guy who's, has some polish to him, you got to think. I mean, when I watched McKenna, I was like, this kid at 160, I don't see many guys beating him at 160. But the thing is, I've said that for 2 years. A lot of people think Troy will knock him out again. I do like the prop on that. I hope Zuffa delivers. Sorry for taking too long on that thought. You guys know I'm a talker. I used to do live presentations for corporates, so like talking is kind of my wheelhouse. Man, women's fights I tend to stay away from. I don't like putting Rodrigo. Where's Barium Boxing at? Is my boy Barium in the chat? Barium needs to pull Rodrigo aside and kind of go, walk through the park. Be like, yo, Rodrigo, let me speak to you. Let me talk to you about something. I got something you might not never know nothing about. And that's that women's boxing. You know how much money is on the table during these women's boxing? Look at the receipts of ours over the last 10 weeks of finding like plus 400 dogs, hitting like plus 600 parlays. For a while, boys, the bookies didn't catch on the points prop either. So like, it wasn't that long ago we were feeding families off of fill in the blank of the female fighter to win a decision. For a while, we were getting that prop at close to plus money. And so it became a joke. It is a joke in our Discord when people are like, oh, do you think she will win by knockout? We're all like, well, the only female we play by knockout is Gabby Fundora, because she's kind of been the one over the last 12 months to be the sort of opposite end of that points prop. Like, so, will it be stoppages on the MVP card? Maybe. But unless Gabby's fighting, I tend not to play the female knockout. What's up, Johnny? Do you feel Galley going the distance? Funny, just talked about that. What do you think about Billy Pickles? Bill Pickles. A little UK dust up. Classic UK Brit. He's a slight favorite. If you want to watch the little tape you have of these guys, these are going to be like, domestic level, sea level British dust ups. Action. Neither guy is going to be a world champion, but these guys don't. That's not why they're fighting. You know what I'm saying? I think Pickles should win if you want to like dissect the resumes a little bit. His opponent really. But if you want to, I see why you want to bet on the fight, because the odds 58% return on Pickles. If gun to my head, I would take Billy to win. Sorry, I can't tune in. What's Simpsons Williamson pick live bet? Fight to not go the distance. Shanika straight punches will be your key to break Dina coming in. Yes, and I think also how Shanika, like, excuse me, when Shanika's at range, she kind of starts a little bit split stance, and she kind of like thinks she's being slick, hiding what she really wants to do. She throws a jab, split, and then as soon as that first jab lands, she adjusts her footwork and she brings that right foot, not necessarily parallel with her lead foot, but it's enough to then give her opponent both shoulders, and she's looking for that range to, if my head could touch you, you're close enough to get touched, sort of thing. So it's one of these things when you're teaching somebody how to fight on the inside. You don't need to see them. You just need to feel them. And that's where she wants to be. She wants to be at that range where she no longer needs to use her vision. She can work like kinesthetically. That's what you would say. You feel it. So whether it's the head on the chest or shoulder near, and then she can work there and then lean in and use that power from her legs and her core. Very strong. She's doing a lot of like I said, her punching technically is not going to be anything people are going to say, oh, she's a very technical boxer, but she does things with her lower half, her base and her foundation that is very technical. If you're watching, like how to brace and how to posture up in the pocket, head placement, all that sort of stuff. If you've never fought before or fought or know what to look for in the pocket, she's good at all that stuff. And so she knows where, her wheelhouse isn't going to be at range. And I always like when a fighter understands what their strengths are and then works on other areas to suit those strengths. So like with her, she's not going to be the best at range. She wants to be on the inside. Her coming, the division she's at currently 5'5" with, where she walks around at naturally. All right, I'm going to weaponize my cardio. I'm going to weaponize my strength and conditioning. I'm going to come in. The one thing you'll never be able to say about Shanika Johnson is she's always coming into a fight in shape. And that's an admirable style. And that's why I said earlier, these 2-minute rounds for a fighter of her strengths, tailor made. She's a tough night out, and she's getting better. I know you look at the resume. Um, I don't think you could really. You would be doing yourself a disservice as a bettor if you're making bets, and you're probably not winning consistently if you're doing this anyway. So this could be a moot point considering we have a really educated chat. But if you find yourself making bets on sort of canceling current status of fighters out based off of what they look like when they were at their worst 3, 4, 5, 6 fights ago, it's probably not the best strategy. King Callum better go crazy. The Irish crowd's going to be crazy. Mike Tyler about to get his ass. My boy, this is a business. Hey, I respect it. Look, I respect it. Actually, yeah, he's a big dog there, man. I think the PFL card has a lot of good looks. Name me some of them. I usually don't bet women because I didn't grow up watching it. I'm looking into it more. Love the JSB. Couple boys have copied my moonshots when they hit. It's good. Yeah, yeah, but you know what? Being you're a young buck, and one of the things and I'm not trying to ever sound preachy with any of this, but just I am a coach and I'm a teacher, and a lot of my clients and students are guys in between the ages of like 18 and 30. Kind of my demographic as a coach and teacher is that don't get distracted or don't get caught up in always needing to win to then tell yourself you're not adding value. Of course, we want to win. That's the drug, though. That's the endorphin rush, the chemical release in our brain when we win, especially if you're giving tickets away and you're helping others win. And then when they don't win, the downfall is the loss because you're not only disappointed you lost, but other people listen. You got to look past that, bro, and the in between, what you're doing in between. Like I'm tailing one of your plus 8,000 tickets, and to me, look how my face changes just talking about it. Like, cause it's hope. You know what I'm saying? Like, if one of those motherfuckers hit plus 8, you can put $10 on that. If one of those motherfuckers hit, you know what I'm saying? So that is also what you're doing, like that element. Because my betting style is a bit old man. I'm like, I take risk, but I'm not that risky. Every ticket you're getting is plus money, so I'm not going to give you like I couldn't do what I do. I feel if I wasn't finding you plus money tickets week in and week out. But a plus 110 is way obviously less risk adverse than a plus 8,000, and that's why we like what you do, though, bro. Keep doing it. Rolling with the 4-pick Callum. Yeah, Sam Hickey. Let's go. Let's go. JSB Insiders tapping in. Yo, Johnny, do you have a Callum Simpson to get his revenge? My play, real quick, boys, is Troy's the dog here at plus 125. So all in depth, you know my take on this because you're in our group. This is my only play on this fight. Will the fight go the distance? No. Plus 115. So I'm watching this fight. I've given this ticket away for the boys. That for me is a bitterness bet. That for me is a bet doused in skepticism, resentment, and a little bit of nihilism based off of what happened to me in the first fight. So I'm just watching it, hoping for bloodshed, hoping for war. A first round knockout either way would be nice. So yeah, I think plus money, the plus money prop is my play. Hey bro, how's it going? I have a lot on that foreleg. Bill Fay. So do I, bro. It's the game we play. I'll be here whether we win or whether we lose. Historically, if it hits, we expect it to hit. It's kind of what we do. If it doesn't hit, I'll be here for you to come back and bash. Because, I get it. But I do want to say, I hope that all of your picks, guys, you put a little bit something into it. I don't want anybody here just to follow my tips. So if you are here and you're supporting me and maybe I confused you and that's why you joined, you thought, or maybe you saw tickets shared online, you're like, these guys are winning. And you joined just because you wanted a quick buck or you think I never lose. Nobody hits 100%. And I never promote our community to grow it for you to just follow my bets. Like, we do this for the love of the game, mate. So I obviously, you see my tickets. I'm not a guy who just tells you who to take. I post my tickets before the fight. So at its most honest state, I'm shoulder to shoulder with you through the wins and the losses. And because I'm so public and transparent about my delivery, I know what to expect when they don't hit. It's why I put so much effort into trying to win all the time. Maybe that's our secret, because who likes losing? So if you're here just to follow or tail my tickets, I'd probably kindly ask you to leave, because that is selling our community. That is minimizing our community to the smallest scale of what we do. I went heavy today on this four-legger. McKenna. As everyone has a Zeme. I didn't have a Zeme on my books. Nika and Callum. Guys, shout out to Boxing Booth, who's a Kiwi. David's last name is Nika. So, like the knee, we'll do it phonetically correct. Knee hyphen knee. Ka. Forget about it, ka. How the hell did they say to Paul Walker's character, here's what you're gonna turn to Tyrese when you guys leave the building, and after Tyrese is hounding you, he wants to know, all you're gonna do, you're not gonna stop, you're gonna continue walking, you're gonna look over your shoulder to Tyrese and say, forget about it, cuh. So the way you pronounce his name is Nika. Remember that. What's the dog of the week? I don't have one this week, man. My dog, I'm not playing my boxing dog. I can't. There isn't anything I'm confident about on the boxing side. Will there be upsets? Probably, but I talked about this yesterday about my strategy of finding boxing dogs. We hit a lot. Like, we did what, 16 weeks in a row, and then it broke. And I think we've done 4 or 5 weeks back in a row, so like 22 out of 23 weeks in a row of finding dogs dating back to last year. But none of those picks that I've made are forced. It's never, I never will, because when I pick the dog, it's full unit, and I put a lot of money on those bets. So every now and then, like this card, this weekend of fights, there wasn't a dog that I got excited about. There obviously probably there'll be dogs that hit. It's just, and then if you guys told me to take it, you'll be like, I told you so, and I'll give you your flowers. But as a bettor who puts everything out there, like I don't feel comfortable. Like we'll see. I don't think anybody on the Kiwi card. I think all the favorites on the Kiwi card. I think all of the favorites win. And then we got the boxer card. Like when I pick the dog, it has to be a sort of level of instinct and a level of what I see on tape. Max Curtis, Billy Pickles. Like you guys, nothing more needs to be said there. So a lot of you guys in the chat online were selling me on Mark Buke as the dog. I'm not saying Mark Buke can't win at plus 550 against Coyle. All I'm saying is when you watch Mark Buke fight, and because I put my bets out in this modality, and when you watch Mark Buke's tape and you see his level of skill, and if I were to take him, I am putting my reputation on the line. And that level of skill is not a sort of level of a fighter. It's not the strategy I operate on. Now, there will be guys, if Buke wins, who say, Johnny, you should have taken Buke. And I would have said, yeah, you're right. But I would then say, that's not, like, when you watch his tape, that's not a dog that I'm betting on at all. Tyler Christopher, our boy. You know my story with him. We talked about it. Stephen McKenna wins. Azim wins. So now we're down to, I didn't have this fight, Ashley Eels, Sam Hickey, Greatest Kraus, Josh Ward. Now this leads me to Josh Ward and Kasparian, right? And a lot of you guys like Kasparian. And I'm not trying to talk you guys out of not taking Kasparian. But once again, the strategy that I operate on, which the receipts speak for themselves, I'm not about to jump on a amateur guy from the Netherlands who hasn't fought anybody at the pro level or even traveled before, who has a style that is, he tells the entire world what he wants to do, as the dog against a guy at one time. Joe Ward was Joe Ward, they took him to America. This was a guy who had a lot of hope. I'm not saying Ward, the Kasparian can't win. It's just not, Kasparian's not the dog that I get excited about. So I'm passing on that. Callum will win. If anything, if you want to play dog, Troy should be your guy. He won the first fight. You saw how that went. He should be your guy. But Troy is 35. The boys in the chat know why I'm not betting a winner. I'm just betting the prop, which is plus money. So that fight cancels it out for me. But if you're looking for a dog, you got, well, the last fight, Troy won by stoppage. He was, controlling the fight midway through. Him being a dog, it's why not play it? I'm not, but that's an option for you guys. The only fight that I would think about would be Dina. So I think personally, Dina is the most live dog of the weekend. In my take on that. So if you're looking for a dog, and if you want a dog that's more correlated with my strategy of betting in terms of matchups, odds, what's on the line, Dina's your dog, 100%. I didn't take her to win. I'm taking Shanika. But of all that list we just went over, fucking Mark Buke, Kasparian, it either should be, in my opinion, Dina or Troy. If you're looking for a dog, that's just my take. No, but you don't have to listen to me. I have Aaron McKenna on points. For the inquiring, I'll take Diego Krasimov on the money line. I'll explain why in depth in the Discord. Just search his name in the bar. Okay, so Barium says his dog Okay, so barium is telling you not to, because somebody brought up Ashley Eels at plus 320. If you're in our Discord, go to the boxing chat in the search bar, type in Krasimov, and you'll find Barium's reason on why not to take Ashley Eels. Okay? And this, in a nutshell, is our community. Thank you, Barium. Appreciate you. Me too. He gave it out yesterday on the live. I'm 2,000 invested on that parlay. Future 160 is Yo-Yo Hernandez and McKenna. I can't argue. Yo-Yo's coach is in our group. Shout out. He's a JSB insider. Do you think McKenna might lose first round? Ed Nosa is going to bring it to him early. Ed Nosa, but Aaron's not really a guy to give rounds away. Aaron's going to want to make a statement. He's not going to want to look at any level, guys. And their camps will know this. At any level, the last thing you want to do as a fighter is give an undefeated fighter early confidence. An undefeated underdog fighter. There's no way McKenna. I don't think he's going to start slow. I think he's going to want to set the one of my favorite things about McKenna is he sets the pace. McKenna is what my old coach would call a tone setter. Some guys are tone setters, some guys aren't. Like some guys set the tone through like Tank Davis is a guy who isn't a traditional tone setter, but he kind of sets the tone by giving the round away. Not everybody operates like that because not everybody has the same skill set. There would be times later on in the second half of Floyd's career where Floyd would operate similar to that. When Floyd was younger, that motherfucker would jump on you, dude. When I talk to young bucks, I always tell them, you guys need to refresh your memory and refresh your knowledge on Floyd Mayweather's career. Because when he came out of the Olympics, this motherfucker was a slugger. This dude was a pressure forward, get you out of there quick, aggressive. Boy, when he went by Pretty Boy Floyd, he was and shout out to Floyd for being so skilled to actually be good enough and be great enough to adjust his style once he started getting the hand issues. Like some guys get the hand issues and that's the narrative of their entire career. They had bad hands. Floyd got the hand issues and reinvented himself as one of the greatest defensive-minded fighters of all time. But when he was younger, man, this kid was an aggressive puncher. He was really fun to watch. So McKenna, when you watch him, you'll see what I mean. He sets the tone. He lets you know early on that this is going to happen at my range. It's going to happen at my pace. And if you don't like it, I'll invite you in and let's see you take these risks. And then I'll make you pay for it. And I'm either going to domesticate you or I'm going to outskill you. And this is either going to go a long way. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad for you. Or you either McKenna's that good. What I've seen, his opponent isn't too bad. Big, fast, not as polished, though. Italy, German fighters on. Yeah. He's that really matters in this case. Level of competition really matters in this case. When you're looking at tape, you're looking at. There's one thing with a guy beating up guys on the domestic scene. There's another thing with a guy when he steps up at the world scene. You really see the contrast. That Danish girl is built like I'm not big on Neeks. She's not built. Dina? Nah, Dina's gonna come in, I think, an inch and a half shorter. She is coming down a weight class. But when we're talking physicality and width, we'll see. I shared a photo earlier in the week of them facing off. You could see even though Sugar is fighting in the division down. Aaliyah hasn't boxed in 11 months. Both McKenna and Aaliyah have been inactive. Yeah. I don't put – they're young. Like McKenna just turned 27. Time away at 27. It's not, Jay, about the McKennas. That kid, those guys live in the gym. So he hasn't fought. I'm fine with it. If he was 35, that would bother me. Not 26 turning into 27. Billy Pickles isn't that in there. Rugrats. Tommy, I see Nika and Mason any early. Yeah. So I do, full transparency, boys. I have Nika on a juicy four-legger, but I did play a Discord prop, which the only people who saw the ticket are in our Discord. I took Nika 1 through 6 at. I played this on Monday. All right, so I played this on Monday. I have action on David Nika 1 through 6 at plus 310. And guys, if you're new to the game, tread lightly on the props. Prop betting, as you can tell, it's a whole different sport in terms of gambling. You know what I mean? Prop betting, when you're looking at your bankroll and you're looking at strategy over time, if you lay your bankroll out, I told you guys last night on my live how I do mine. I do my bankroll in month-to-month increments. So I have my peak, and then we have every week of fights, and then I'll disperse accordingly my unit play. Prop if you're playing props, whether it's Nico 1 through 6 or fight not to go the distance, whatever it is, your unit play, at least for me, my unit play is never. It's usually maybe sometimes 50% of my normal unit. Usually it's a quarter. You know what I'm saying? So just tread lightly with the props. But this is one that and I don't play props a lot. The fanciest I usually get is method of victory. Will they win by stoppage or will they win on points? So you still need that's risky too, because you need your fighter to still win. Hopefully there's no draw. And then from there, you need to pick the outcome properly. So if you're new to the game, strategically betting, if you're doing props, tread lightly with your bankroll. I do like Nico 1 through 6 plus 310. I love that prop. Sam Goodman odds. Yeah, keep that down. I only shared it in the Discord, guys, so I didn't share it publicly, by the way, either. I got some insider info on that too. One of my clients, he's a Australian Commonwealth Games boxer. He's an amateur, one of the highest ranked amateurs in Australia, and I'm his strength and conditioning coach. And so he he's in fight camp, and he comes over once or twice a fight camp so I could touch up on his technique of his powerlifting, his strength training, make sure everything's neat and tidy technically, and then we do everything else online. So he has a fight at the end, third week of September. But Goodman has brought him in as a sparring partner for this fight with Nishida in Japan. And so just yesterday he was talking about him, and I was picking his brain, obviously, a little bit of insider info. And I didn't realize the odds of Sammy versus Nishida until this morning. Somebody in the Discord brought it up. And when they brought it up, I was like, oh, shit. So I went in there, and obviously I made my play. But it's not publicly. It's only within our group. What's up, Bradbury? What do you have? Omar Bradbury is one of our MMA guys. And Chantel Cameron, my dog of the month. Bookie's blessing us with the odds of plus 225. Got her on a couple A's, 50-50 fight. There's no way. Oh, shit. Hot take. Omar, you're my guy, man. Good read on that. I'll revisit that when we get closer. Do you think Clarissa will get the Clarissa's fighting Auntie K. Auntie K is durable. Auntie K strong. These Aussies, boy, I be trying to tell you guys, boy. The Oz, they're like the strength and conditioning community down here. I'm talking from like not just fighters, but like from rugby, um, both NRL and union, or league and union, AFL, uh, you know, the fight game. Because I'm a strength coach and I've done my credits through the ASIC, the Australian Strength Institute. There are some amazing strength coaches down here. I'm talking on a global level. And so you see it trickling over into the fight game. Like when you think about Aussie female fighters, what's one of the things you guys think? Like, what's one of the things that comes to mind? I'm talking about an Aussie female who is trained down here. She's gonna come in shape, dude. Aussie females are fit. They're strong because they're doing strength and conditioning. There's this weird old school mindset of the old way of boxing is you spar, you do your road work, you do like the heavy bag. And I know old heads who barely did mitts. You know what I'm saying? And this whole guys who are like in their 70s now coaching, like, oh, wait, doing squats will slow you down. And I'm like, bro, oh my God, you need to learn and know the science of human, functional strength and the effects of functional strength in terms of explosivity and power and endurance. And so when I see other female boxers globally, I could tell they're not doing. There's one of the things I'm like, you could tell they're not doing strength and conditioning. And so, Auntie K, to answer your question, my problem with Clarissa is her punch placement's freaking horrible. Her accuracy's freaking horrible. Um, it's hard for her to call it, like, obviously her credentials are unmatched, right? And she's an imposing force in there, but I think she's beatable. Like I think like watching her, like we won a lot of money in her last fight. She couldn't get Auntie out of there, and it was in Detroit, and we took Clarissa on points. A lot of you boys took her by knockout. I'm just gonna say the only girl I bet knockout props on is who? Gabby. If Clarissa had a little bit of punch placement or accurate, is there a more inaccurate puncher in pro boxing than Clarissa Shields? Like if she placed her punches, she'd have a high knockout to win ratio. I mean, what is it? It's freaking horrible. And she has this aura about her as a knockout artist. She's not. I'm not saying she doesn't have power though. It's just, look, I don't like it. I'm a coach, so I like the minutia of the science. I like technique. I like when the right hand looks like a switch. You know what I'm saying? There's no fat on the punches, or when the hook just turns over, or um, give me one second. Clarissa Shields, 18-0, 3 knockouts. I mean, what are we talking about? How are you the GOAT? I get it. The GOAT for me is somebody who puts it all together, and maybe she's probably not even born yet. Clarissa is paving the way for the ones who haven't even been born yet. She's changed the game, and that's not what I'm trying to say here. I'm probably coming off as a hater, but as a big puncher, she doesn't sit on her punches. She slaps, she pulls her punches at times, and she's so inaccurate. Like I don't like watching her fight. It's entertaining because it's just like chaos, and she's super aggressive. But I'm like, maybe she needs a coaching change. I like to see her change camps and kind of link up with a technician, somebody who would force her to stay in the lab for hours and work on her punch placement, work on her not getting over her lead foot, work on her keeping her weight back when she's throwing her lead hooks, work on her setting things up instead of just throwing flurries. Because obviously she's athletically gifted and she's a super athlete, and she should be stopping people. Women's boxing is a gold mine. I remember Auntie Juarez. Yes, brother. Tell him. You got to tell them, why are Aussie women so fine? I say it every live stream when we talk about Aussie women. Women are fine everywhere. If you're old like me and you've traveled the world, boy, there's beautiful women everywhere. I always laugh at my friends who limit themselves. I only like this type of girl, or I only like this type of girl. I'm like, shh, you out here. You crazy, boy. Women are beautiful everywhere. Shout out to all the beautiful women out there. Shout out to my girl, the most beauty. 250 laughing. I don't know what these jewels are. Connor Ben just said today Ryan Garcia will be his last fight at 47 for Chandler brutal weight cut he's going to go through. I think Ryan should stop him. I think with each fighter, the longer you guys grow in the sport as boxing heads, you guys are all boxing heads. We peaked at 110. There's 77 in here. The longer you guys are in the sport, and maybe some of the boys are older than me. I get the statistics. A lot of you guys are younger than me. What happens is you learn to find something in every fighter that you might like. You don't have to like the fighter, but there might be something in that fighter that makes you watch them when they fight. For me, Connor Ben, I just love how determined he is. And you can say what you want about his personality. He's no altar boy. We know about his history, whatever. You can't take away, you can't deny when he's in the ring that kid, um, the destroyer, the nickname, he it might not make sense on the knockout to win ratio, but when you just watch the determination of him training and you watch the determination of his style, for me it's admirable. I look at that, I was like, bro. So I just think he's gonna fall short. I think he's gonna fall short. I mean, Ryan's timing is better. Ryan's power is better. Ryan's the guy who's more in probably the better weight class. We've seen Connor now. I don't like when guys get close, in their 30s. And how old's Connor now? Connor's 29. He might be able to get away with it, but we know him fluctuating up and down. You put all this weight on, then you try to come back down. Do you remember when Roy went up to, I think, heavyweight and he beat John Ruiz? He put all that weight on. And then, when you look at statistically from that fight, the rest of his career, it was kind of a mixed bag. I don't know if he would admit it, but you could hypothesize that, just adding all the weight and cutting it down and kind of, it affects a guy. So Ryan should be able to handle him. I'm not a Ryan Garcia. I'm not the biggest Ryan Garcia fan. I'm not a fan of from a skill set technique wise. Ryan should be able to use his jab. We saw a backhand finally from him against Mario. He should have enough speed. His speed obviously is world class. You can't take that away from Ryan. You can't take away his power. He has a lot of technical flaws though. His feet are terrible. He crosses his feet. The way he moves laterally, you never really see him following. Like he throws that, when he throws his lead hook, he has such good timing. His lead hook, he has to set his lead hook up. He really, when he's throwing it, he's kind of hunting on the prowl. Sometimes you see guys throw their lead hook and they're baiting you in and they're on their back foot and then they follow it around. Ryan's more, his lead hook usually shows up from a different sort of approach. Very gifted dude. You could tell that as a young kid, he was so, certain guys, when they're so talented at things in every sport, unless they're an absolute monster or obsessed with the craft, like a Kobe Bryant sort of thing or a Terrence Crawford sort of thing, you see it a lot. Guys will then just get comfortable and confident in what they're good at. And if they're good at something at a young age and something so technical as boxing, they will then kind of forget about other areas of their game to want to round up. And when I see Ryan, that's what I kind of see. I see a kid who, as a young fighter, great hand speed, always had good power, and probably, the other sort of elements of his game didn't work that much on. So He should beat Ben though. Soto is the cutest one. 1109 Elise Soto. Amanda Gallier, Tam T-Ball, Shanika should cast us. Let's go. Troy with Callum points. Troy by knockout. Callum Walsh points. McKenna points. Gamrot money line. Let's go retro. Let's go retro. I love this one. Guys, we got 84 in here. Like the video for me. I hate talking business. You know that. Waiting for Floyd to come to BK to London. Is he coming to London? Jessica Messina is live against Yama, in my opinion. Yeah, I saw that. What's up, Pate? So I saw that on the books today, Messina versus Yama. And I don't mean to pass this comment off, but the longer you guys are on my channel, you know, I don't come with an ego. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I know freaking everything. This is on the Kiwi card, guys. This is on the Nika card. Paid by punches. I don't know if you're in our Discord, if you sign up on Patreon, but we do have a Kiwi representative in here. His name is Boxing Booth. I'm not betting this fight, but I could ask him. I would ask, hey, Boxing Booth, if you're on the live chat, do you think that Messina is live here? Zab Judo is, yes. Great call. Great call, man. Great call. Zab, the guy, you're about to send me on a rant. Zab does not get talked about enough, man. Zab does not get talked about enough. I'm so glad that Zab linked up with Broner a couple weeks ago to get on his live streams. I talked about this earlier in the week. You know, the newer generation, you know, because social media was a thing, they kind of like somebody on the live chat was like, "Who is this guy?" I said, "You better, that's Zab Judah, man." When Zab was coming up, dude, in his prime, boy, I like that he's doing podcasts and like because he was on the live stream with Broner. I saw him on. I think he was with Unk. He might have been on Unk's podcast. He might have been on Andre Ward's podcast. But man, Zab Judah was special. You know, down here he's obviously remembered for what happened against Costa. But you need to, if you don't know about Zab Judah, refresh yourself. Tone setter, perfect way to put it. Sky's no doubt fit. Clarissa's a self-proclaimed quote. Don't be afraid to tell the truth, JSB. Shields a lot of height. I feel you. I try. What am I inaccurate about? Puncher. Okay. Yeah. You know, ethics are really important to me as a man. Ethics. And so I don't think it's my job to preach my ethics to people. So when I was younger, I used to get caught doing that. And at this stage of the game, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to judge anybody for how you operate. But what I do here is it is important for me to lead by example because it's my platform, right? So if you ever think I'm not telling the truth, call me on it because that's not what I'm trying to do. If I'm hesitant on a take, I'm finding the words to not sound like I'm bashing a fighter. That means a lot to me, not bash fighters. There's a way to do it. There's a certain way to speak about fighters. You know, you grow up in gyms, man. You see guys when you're a kid. I told the story once. I'm like 7, and Southside Boxing Club, Youngstown, Ohio. And we had Henry Arroyo, we had Boom Boom Mancini, Ernie Shavers, and so it's like the late '80s now. And there was this guy at the gym that wasn't that old, but I remember he something was off about him. And I remember asking my dad, I was like, Pops, what's wrong with that guy? What's wrong with Louis? And he was hesitant about it. He was like, oh, he got hit too much. That's all he said. He's like, he got hit too much. The game is to hit and not get hit. I'm like 7. I'm like that big. I was an undersized 7-year-old. That's why he took me to the gym. And so that kind of put me on this path of like, oh, I was like instantly faced in real life with the consequences of the sport that I was learning. And it forever sent me on this path. Now at 44, it's still how I view it. So I try to catch myself if, to not because it's a fine line. I have to pick winners and losers, and I see in the comments, the only time I'll ever really get fired up is if they're like casuals or trolls will come and try to call me out because I'm dissing their fighter, or I'm dissing the kid from Philly, or I'm dissing the like. So when you see me hesitating over words, it's not because I'm trying to not tell the truth. It's I'm wrestling with a way of how to do it in my eyes ethically. You think Callum Smith will knock out? You think Simpson will knock out William Troy? It could go the other way. I haven't heard this word all week. I haven't heard the word trilogy all week. Troy's a dog. He won the first fight by knockout. Simpson was what, a 5-1 favorite in the first fight? Got dropped 4 times in the 10th. The referee, dude, Simpson was getting his ass beat. The referee was like, "How funny is it that like certain refs uh will either like UK contenders will let them die on their sword. UK prospect versus UK journeyman, we stopping this shit standing. We gonna see a little flurry, and then we'll wave it up. Like there's these double standards if you're paying attention to how refs handle things differently depending on the trajectory or the status of the matchup. That fight should have been stopped. Like that ref gave Simpson every opportunity in the book. No one's saying trilogy. If you guys like Troy's at plus money, dude, he won by knockout. If you guys like Troy to do it again, take him on the money line. But then if you like Simpson, does he beat Troy on points or does he win by knockout? My only play is the fight won't go the distance. Sometimes women drinks are a chance to grab a drink and bite to eat. I like it. She spams that same terrible combo. I know. Clarissa. I think if you bet Simpson 1-6 in decision from Dez. You think Dez beats Tam Tebow? Shit, that's right. Shit, that's right. I want 10 p.m. Connor Ben is already looking very drained like a skeleton. Will be such a good fight. Ryan is on. It's easy work. I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan gets knocked down. So we saw, did Connor get a late knockdown in the second fight against Chris? And Chris was like, I don't like after fights the excuses come because Chris was drained. He cut a lot. Yeah, but he took the fight. He signed on the dotted line. He made millions. The outcome is the outcome, right? But I think, did Chris go down? If he did, then my question's answered. If he didn't, when is the last time Connor dropped an opponent? Gamer. A lot of people lost to Dariush, man. Don't sleep on Benny Dariush, bro. Benny Dariush is one of those rare UFC vets who had 2 championship runs. Never quite got there, but look at his resume. Benny Dariush was a nightmare to deal with, bro. Great fighter. It's weird, like the UFC. And look, I watch. You guys know, I'm a day one UFC guy. I watched UFC 1, November 12th, 1993. I'm an old head. I have some of my favorite fights happened in Japan with the Pride. Some of my favorite fights were before the reality show. To this day, when I talk about UFC, I love the golden. I call it the welterweight golden era of like the 2010s when they had like Carlos Condit, Matt Brown fighting at 170 pounds, um, Robbie Lawler, Eric Silva. We had Johnny Hendricks. There were more too. When who is dude a kid that I'm still pissed that they didn't re-sign. His name's slipping my mind. Great leg kicker. He was a freaking animal. He came over from Strike Force. He was a beast in Strike Force. But I watch all the fight. Like the thing that UFC fans do that I think it's because it's such a young sport is they're really hard on their veterans. Like they like to do revisionist history. People have come on here before and tried to shade BJ Penn and disregard BJ's run when BJ for I think 6 years he was the first guy to ever win belts in multiple divisions, traveling up divisions, winning the fucking the Mundial, the BJJ world title in jiu-jitsu, and then coming on the scene in UFC, having this crazy gas tank, being able to beat you everywhere, on the ground, on the feet. And then I had a kid on the show a while ago trying to like revisionist history and look at BJ's entire career. He was fucking over. I was like, you guys are out of your mind. Like you with UFC fighters, because the UFC eats their old, you have to look at guys what they were when they were at their best, especially their champions. If a guy went on a run and became a champ, then you know their prime. And so it's not like boxing. You don't break down a boxer generally and you look at runs. You look at the boxers sort of full body of work and how they moved and how they operated and their successes or their failures. MMA is a bit different. You don't do it that way because of the history of it and how it's a different sport. And you know, Dariush is a fucking animal, bro. And Gamrot, dude. Gamrot has who's you guys are selling me on Quilland. Who's his best win? Anshul Jubilee? Like Gamrot's chain wrestling. The fight's in the Apex. It's in a smaller octagon. I think we're going to see a 50-45 situation. Is 410 for Ben too wide of a line? Yeah, I do. Zab versus Costa. Yeah, it had, because pop culture was written all over the fight. When we think about Zab and Costa, even though we know the outcome, there were other elements that people still talk about. The energy of Las Vegas, Zab's walkout, comparable to Costa's walkout, the contrast of that. If you don't know, look into that. That people still talk about that, how the outcome happened. Um, People say that was the first time chicken dance was coined, when you'd see a fight, but obviously it wasn't, because we saw Mike Tyson do that to, fighters have been doing that to fighters since the beginning of fights, right? But that one was like on pay-per-view when Zab was trying to recover in his equilibrium. He just got caught in that spot right above the ear where your equilibrium goes, and your brain is telling you one thing, but your body is failing you. So the rat tail, freaking iconic fight. But Zab Judah was way more than just that loss. When you look at his fights, I think he was what, early in his career, he might have been 13-0, 14-0, and he stepped up to fight Mickey Ward, dude. God, I'd like to talk to who was handling Zab then? Who was Zab's handlers when he was 14-0? Was it Don King? I was a kid. I would have been, I think, 15. But he fought Mickey Ward, bro. And Mickey Ward, Pete, like, this is a guy who cut his teeth as being always. This was before the war, Arturo Gotti trilogy. I think he fought him before Mickey fought Emmanuel Augustus as well, because that's a fucking great fight nobody talks about. You want to go fucking watch Emmanuel Augustus versus Mickey Ward. No one talks about that fight. Fucking crazy fight. But Ward, dude, was a brutal body puncher. Accurate. He would take his time with his body work. Very rarely you see guys these days who will get inside and take and specifically take shots to give one now. And he was so accurate with it, and the way the angle he would rip it at. And and Zab overcame all that. And Zab beat him. And that's people like, oh shit. And Zab had a lot of hype coming up. Damn, 90s boxing was amazing, wasn't it? I was fortunate to go on a run with Pavlik in the, up until the first Jermaine Taylor fight. Once he won the title, that's when like we got there, and I was like, and I didn't see him fight live after that. But I was at Atlantic City when he beat Taylor. I was at Disneyland when he beat Max Zertuche. After he beat Zertuche, the Edson Miranda fight. Fucking great run. But the 90s too, man. Insane. Zab versus Cotto was legendary. Zab is a beast. Dude, we had Chico Corrales. Chico Corrales versus Luis Castillo. Fucking, that people don't talk about Chico enough either. Angel Manfredi. People don't talk about Angel Manfredi enough. Paul Spadafora. the Pittsburgh Kid. There's a lot of them, man. If you go even the generation before that, um, I was talking about Matthew Said Muhammad, Miracle Matthew. If you don't know who Miracle Matthew is, crazy story. His parents in Philly left him on the side of a fucking highway when he was 3 years old. 3 years old. And Catholic nuns picked him up. A Coventry of nuns found this abandoned young toddler on the side of a highway. Went on to become a champion. Matthew Said Muhammad. Buke and Pickle. Darius was good, so was Gamrot. Chris went down heavy twice in 11th or 12th, I believe, but no excuse. Chris is showing so one of the worst I've seen. I don't believe it was Connor as elite. What's up, Retro? I definitely watch UFC 1, but my favorite fighter of all time. Yes, Lyoto Machida. Dude, I told a story about Machida, his gym. Leo Machida was the first, it was the first I had ever heard in MMA of guys training to get knocked down. So, it was known that if you're like Lyoto, Andy was the first guy to have a karate base to become a world champion. Maybe the only guy. I know he's the first karate base to become a world champion. But Machida and those boys would train off the cage to get clipped and then how to react once they got clipped. And I remember it was like an evolution of the game when that happened. And now you see, because instinctively, if you're in space in the middle of the cage, you get clipped. You see a lot of guys shoot for legs and that sort of thing in MMA. But tactically, especially a counter striker like Machida, he'd walk you onto shots. So he's using the back of the octagon for his advantage. And, there were moments in his career where he would get clipped and he would somehow recover. And I remember finding out that, wow, they train for that. Like you train. And so you'd also see in times, and, to think about, you don't see it a lot anymore. I think the Pat Barry fight was one of them, or Brock Lesnar versus, who was Brock fighting? Pat Barry was fighting the guy who announces PFL, forget Sean's last name. And Brock was fighting it was for a title. You'd see it more often back in the day. Guys would get really hurt and dudes would rush in. And when they would rush in, they would get clipped. You don't see it a lot anymore because the game's evolved. But that used to happen. And guys used to train for it. BJ Penn was, people try to trip when they do revisionist history. Johnny, what boxer do you think would have had a different career if they had a trainer a la Tim Tszyu or Teo? If they had a better trainer. It's tough, isn't it? Because both guys became world champions. Both guys are still active. Timmy's 31. Teo's in his late 20s. The percentage of guys who will go and pick the gloves up as a boy, and when it's all said and done in the history books, have written then that boy became a world champion, it's emotional. The percentage is few and far between. Less than 0.5%. So it's hard for me to, a different career, bro. These are world champions. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the way I look at it. But I understand your point. It's just a tough one to analyze because the way my mind perceives that question is like, these are champions. Like, it could have gone a different way. Zoo could have lost to Gachet when he got dropped early. And I think that was in the Armory. Did he fight Gachet in Minnesota? An Olympian? That was his step up at the time. He gets dropped early, dude. He had to overcome that. He overcame that and then won a wide decision. Things could have went the other way. He could have lost to Mendoza. Mendoza was coming off that knockout win against Fundora. People don't like we talk about these things. Zoo doesn't get credit for that. Like Mendoza was the one here. Zoo was still the guy trying to prove himself. And to this day, Mendoza's the only one who's been able to crack that code against Seb. And Timmy got real close. Against Seb. Yeah, I think I have a little bit different outlook on Zoo's career. I think he's overachieved. I think with all the cards that were dealt, his personal sort of story. I mean, John, he was the son of a Hall of Famer world champion. What do you mean? Yeah, but that dude got abandoned when he was 7 because his dad had a side family in Russia. Abandoned him. He was a kid who was like known nationally of going on the stage during the weigh-ins with his dad, who was a champion. How am I going to explain to my 8-year-old friends that my dad's not my dad anymore? Because he got some new pussy and ran out and started has a little side family in Russia. And now he doesn't like that. Timmy, those were Timmy's cards as an 8-year-old. So my outlook's a little bit different on him, man. I think things went. I think he overachieved. I don't think many people thought he was gonna become a world champion. BJ Penn was licking the blood. BJ Penn's an animal, dude. 100. BJ Penn's an animal, dude. Gamrot with the Harmon. People are forgetting about my boy Gamer, dude. Gamrot resume should have him a favor, but he seems to be. Well, he's 35. Look, 35, which isn't the end of the road. He's been stopped once. I think he got subbed once. You know, one of my favorite Gamrot fights. It was in Europe. He fought my boy Stormin Norman Park. Watch that fight. I freaking dude. People forget. Stormin Norman was a beast, dude. Stormin Norman was a training partner at SBG with Connor, and he was part of like that camp when Connor was coming up with like Neil Seary, Patty the Hooligan Houlihan, Cathal Pendred, and dude, Norman was a gorgeous striker, dude. Norman Park was a dude in his prime, long, lean, technical, pop, 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 would start you from range, and Norman was cleaning everybody out on the Euro scene. And he fought Gamrot, and I was like, that's when I first heard of Gamrot. I'm like, holy fuck, who is this dude? It was a while ago. I'm a nerd for this shit. Costa Rex Zab attacking the rep. People do not talk about Vernon Forrest enough. Good shout out, Skeezy. Vernon Forrest, boy. Wow, dude, how good was he? Who else? You got me thinking now. Winky Wright. People don't talk about Winky Wright enough, boy. That high guard. Sent you an email. I'll get you the link. Vitor Belfort on gear was the GOAT. TRT Vitor. Barrera Morales trilogy was great. Shane Mosley, Oscar De La Hoya, Tito versus De La Hoya was great. Marquez versus Diaz. Dude, one of my all-time favorite fights of that era was Paulie versus Cotto. I remember watching that live in my parents' living room. It was like early 2000s. It was Puerto Rican Day Parade, Madison Square Garden, New York City. Both, you had a young, marketable, super charismatic Italian American from New York, and you had the Puerto Rican, and the garden was cut in half, dude. The crowd. I'll watch that fight right now, dude. I always talk about that was the first. I remember thinking after that fight, I was like, I've never seen a kid during the ring walks come into a fight looking so pretty, and then after the fight looking unrecognizable. It was freaking insane. For Paulie to survive that fight, but also make adjustments midway through. And dude, Paulie was winning the later rounds against Cotto. It was freaking insane. It's one of my favorite fights. If you haven't seen Malignaggi versus Cotto, you need to watch that fight. Because Cotto was hitting Paulie with everything early, and he had to be thinking, how is this kid not going away? And you know, Paulie being an outside fighter, using his speed, trying to figure out Cotto, you know, figuring out on the spot this amazing puncher who's, you know, explosive and aggressive, and bro, the styles. It's one of my favorite fights. Did you see the video of Teo? I did. I put it up in the Discord. Teo's stripping, man. He thrashed Mendoza. He did. He did. And they throw that win away. They throw that win away. You know what I mean? And then also, guys, Ocampo, right? Ocampo is a guy. I brought him up today in our Discord. Oh, shit. I could talk to you. We've been on for like an hour and a half. Ocampo, we watched EJ run through Ocampo first round. We watched Tim Zoom run through Ocampo first round, second round, something like that. We also just watched Ocampo go the distance with Callum Walsh. So somebody in the Discord was trying to compare. They were like, who do you think's better, Callum Walsh or Aaron McKenna? And I go, bro, it's not even comparable. But do you remember how that fight started, though? People were picking Gachet to beat him, by the way. I know a lot of people picked Gachet to beat him. A lot of people picked Harrison to beat him. I was at the Harrison fight, and we know everyone was picking Errol to beat him, and we picked Timmy to win all those fights. Now, obviously, Timmy lost me money against Murtazaev. Didn't, and that was the one that yeah, there's a lot to be said about that fight. Great take on Tim. Appreciate you. I'm just trying to keep it real. What's the slips? They're up. They're posted, Osney. I don't believe in locks, though. There's no such thing as locks. Amanda Lemos can win, Johnny. I don't know about her opponent. People are writing Lemos off. I think you're seeing in Lemos what I'm seeing in her, too, when she's at her best. She's been up and down, though, dude. I don't trust her. Tim's big fight was supposed to be Charlo. Maybe that can still happen. I think people will still care. Night Trader, I was right near the ring for the Errol Spence fight. People here, people care. Fight week was electric. We went to the weigh-ins. We went to media day. We were at the fights. People here care. Charlo 100% could come down here and get the same treatment EJ got. I guarantee it. Because we're so isolated down here. The thing about Aussies, and I can only speak for Sydney siders, is very loving community for outsiders, especially Americans. Aussies love Americans. And this isn't supposed to sound anything except a positive thing. So it was amazing to see how the media, how the fans treated, I mean, both Errol and Steph, up until Steph missed weight. Steph was getting the star treatment. Belfort on TRT was dangerous. Hell yeah. TRT Belfort. Dude, Vitor Belfort. Do you guys remember when he used to go by the name Peter Gracie? I told the story on the show before. Belfort used to go by the name Peter Gracie because at the time everybody was trying to take that Gracie last name. And then as he started winning fights, Helio, the father, Hoist's father, Hoist and Hickson, made him, hey, bro, what are you doing? You can't be taking fights under our last name. And so then he started going, because it's either a pride fight or a UFC fight where he gets introduced as Peter Gracie. Vitor Belfort. True story. Check it out. What do you think about Jimmy Saints? We've won money on Jimmy before, man. It's hard for me to go from what we're talking about to kind of like give you a fresh take on Jimmy. But when he fights again, we'll talk about him. I think either Charlo would trash Tim. I mean, you guys were saying the same thing about Errol. You said the same thing about Tony. You said unless it gets put on record, it's just your opinion, and I respect your opinion. I disagree with you, though. We up going into the weekend with great confidence. Going to rewatch Pavlik Miranda. Great fight, bro. Fucking great fight. Watch before the Miranda fight. Watch Zertuche. That fight happened at Disneyland. I was at that fight. It's one of, in my opinion, the decade's best knockouts. It was a great fight. It was a war. Zertuche was a big puncher, a confident guy. Going into the fight, a lot of people were picking him to be. Kelly was one of these guys where almost as he was stepping up, everybody was picking him to lose, and he just never was losing. His only two losses are to Maravilla and B-Hop at 170. But 40-2, 34 knockouts. We have a new middleweight champion of the world, and he's from Youngstown, Ohio. I'll never forget that when Lampley said that after he stopped Jermaine. And Jermaine, and he got prime Jermaine, dude. Kelly got prime Jermaine. This Jermaine. Bad intentions. Did you place a bet on Austin Ammo? Not yet, but I like Ammo to beat Malnicki. What are your thoughts on this KOTS fighting, John? King of the... I don't know what that is. KOTS. Then his sister got kidnapped. Can we do an August, September? Yeah, it's coming. Guys, our quarterly parlay has one more leg on it. It's the McKenna fight, and then we'll put together the next one. 90 minutes in, 75 of you in here. We have a big weekend in front of us. Whether we agree or disagree, I'm actually cheering for you. We're going to make money. We're going to find our victories. Like we always say, we're leaving here with something. JSB Insiders, we up.